In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, so mashallah, with the blessing of God, I'm here to continue with English Quran study, Surah 11, verse 69. I seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. The heading says Abraham and Lot. When our messengers went to Abraham with good news, they said, peace. He said, peace. And soon brought a roasted calf. When he saw their hands didn't touch it, he became suspicious and fearful of them. They said, do not be afraid. We are being dispatched to the people of Lot. This is, I think, the fourth story of messengers and prophets. Noah, Hud, Saleh, Abraham, and Lot. And ponder, think why God is telling us these stories. Very interesting, very interesting. God does not go too much deep into the stories, just kind of on the surface, so we don't lose track of what was being discussed. Our focus stays on it. As we know, Abraham he left his community, he was put into the fire. God blessed him so much. And he's at older age now, and he didn't have any children. He didn't become unappreciative. He was an example for us, that even though he could have said, my Lord, how come you didn't give me any children? He was so devoted to God. Even though whatever God gives him, he was happy with it. He didn't become sad or start complaining or anything. I mean, these are the lessons we see. So these messengers were angels. As we know, messengers can be anyone who brings the message, angels or human being, or any other creature that would bring the message to you. That thing becomes a messenger. We have nowadays apps, Facebook app, messengers. We call it a messenger. They want to send you a message through the messenger app. So when they came, they say, peace, salam, peace. And soon they brought a roasted calf. Other place we see he said to his family to prepare a calf. So when these messengers came, they were in the human form. He couldn't tell that they were as angels. There probably a specific reason God sent them as a human being. God could have sent them as angels, because they were going to go to Lot's people, and there's going to be an incident that's going to take place. And that's the reason we think that why God sent them like this. Interestingly, God mentions that when they went to Abraham, they couldn't recognize him. To them, they were human beings. That's the point to note. That way, when we are staying on the story, and these messengers, they look like human beings, nobody can tell. Everything natural, like a human being. So when they will go to Lot, the Lot's people, they will see them as two young men. Probably in a very, could be possibly, God knows. I'm just kind of assuming that in a good appearance, they look good or something in a way, because all those people of Lot, they were accustomed to doing their sinful acts of homosexuality. And they came running to Lot's home. What dragged them to this, quickly to come to his home? Something to ponder. So when you connect why God sent them as a human being to Abraham, so we get a picture Abraham couldn't even tell. So now we are ready to engage into the next part where they're going to go to Lot's home. So here that's when Abraham was suspicious, because they didn't touch the food. I mean, it takes some time to cook, to prepare a calf, to roast a calf. Could be few hours. And these were travelers. In Abraham's mind, they're traveling from one place to another place. And he thought they must be very hungry at this point when they bring the roasted calf. He was a very good host. Another thing to note is that immediately he ordered his family to bring a roasted calf. So God had blessed him financially in other ways, other means. All these things to ponder. And so when Obviously, a person who's hungry will right away start eating. Then they didn't eat. At that moment, he start thinking, could this be what creature this is? This is not a human being, because this is crosses all the boundaries of human being. A person who's really hungry will not do that. That's when he was suspicious. But they say, don't be afraid. Why would, the angels would be even scaring Abraham? He said, don't be afraid. They tell him that they are being dispatched to Lot's people. So all these details that we see here, there's a reason God is telling us. These are not just randomly story that God is telling us. These pinpoint details are very important. This is where we see that in Surah 51, Abraham's story is repeated in 51:26. He asked his family to prepare a fat calf. Not just calf. So he was well blessed in financially and other means. He was content in his place, even though he didn't have children at that time, but he was enjoying God's blessings. Immediately he ordered his family to do it, and it takes time to prepare the calf. We can all understand that. And then let's go to '71. His wife was standing and she, actually 70. Okay, 71. His wife was standing. She laughed when we gave her the good news about Isaac, and after Isaac, Jacob. She said, woe to me, how could I bear a child at my age? And here is my husband, an old man. This is really strange. They say, do you find it strange for God? God has bestowed his mercy and blessings upon you, O inhabitants of Shrine. He is praiseworthy, glorious. And in Surah 15, also similar story that he said, how can you give me such a good news when I am as old? I am so old. Do you still give me this good news? They said, the good news we give you is true. Do not despair. Do not despair. He said, none despairs of his Lord's mercy except the stairs. So this is the mentality. This is how Abraham is. So we see that obviously someone in older age as a female enter menopause, and we know that it's impossible to conceive a child when you are in older age. Is it a strange for Jesus to be born without a father? It is a strange to Zechariah imploring his Lord when he saw Mary, and the story is from Surah 3, when he sees Mary and the food coming and all that stuff, he also started imploring God that if they can have it, I can implore something too. Something that is out of this world. So there's no limits to what we can implore God, whatever your wish is. So he implored, and he was also older, and he said, God, give me some sign. So that he wanted to make sure that then God says that you are not going to be able to speak. Is it strange for Adam to be born without any father or mother? It is said, be and it is. Kun fayakun. He is God, the most gracious. He creates without any problem. On the day of judgment, God says in Surah 21, all these heavens, 7 heavens, will be rolled up in his hand. And he's going to close all these heavens. They're all spread out like closing of a book. How much effort does it take for us a book that is open to close it? This is the amount of effort it takes for God to close all these galaxies and universes and prepare for a shock, then God is going to say, I'm going to recreate it. We cannot comprehend, we cannot fathom the greatness of God in our own universes. 300 billion stars in our galaxy and trillions of galaxies in the universe. How many stars in our universe? How many stars in our universe? The number 4, and then 10 to the power, I think, of 23. So you put 4 and then put 23 zeros. You know how many zeros in trillion? I think 12. 12 zeros in trillion. 38 trillion US debt. We can't even understand how much effort would it take to pay off that debt. It's only trillion, and each unit of that 38 trillion, each unit is $1. Each unit of this 38 trillion is $1. This is the numbers of stars in our universe, just in our universe. We haven't even crossed the second universe. 4 to the number of 23. I don't know how many millions, there's, you can. Each unit of this big number is 1 star. Each unit of this number, each unit of this 38 trillion is just $1. He is God. Lukwan says to his son when he enlightened him, idol worship is gross injustice. No, there's a light. It sheds so much light. Why idol worship is so bad. The status of the most gracious is so far high above to be considered to be putting anybody next to him is unforgivable sin. Unforgivable. It's a huge disrespect to the most gracious, if we can understand. Giving Abraham Isaac and Jacob without any problem. So his wife, she thought it was, they were righteous people. They're not doubting God. She just laughed. Is it possible? When you hear something completely unusual that you have no idea you're going to be able to get something, and when you get the news, normally human psychology, you start laughing. Is it possible? I can get that? That kind of probably the mentality. These were righteous people. Yeah. And she was an older age and, menopause and all that stuff. 74, when Abraham's fears subsided and the good news was delivered to him, he proceeded to argue with us on behalf of Lot's people. Indeed, Abraham was clement, extremely kind and obedient. O Abraham, refrain from this, your Lord's judgment has been issued. They have incurred unavoidable retribution. So when first he was fearful, and then after the good news was given to him, of course he's excited about that, but in his excitement he didn't forget. He was very kind and clement and obedient person, a human being, prophet of God. Extremely kind. What a loss for his father. His son was extremely kind, telling his father, my God, our Lord has enlightened me, or something like that. Follow me. He's trying everything to guide his people, his father. What a loss that is. What a good son he was to his father. But alas, what a loss. And he's worrying about Lot's people. Starts to argue with them. But he was told, refrain from this behavior. Your Lord's judgment has been issued. Once God's judgment is issued, even Abraham, who's God's beloved friend, he's arguing on the behalf of people. That's it. What can we say about any kind of intercession on the day of judgment? He couldn't protect his father. Noah couldn't protect his son and his wife. Lot cannot help his wife. What in the world give anybody any idea that any of these people will intercede behalf of anyone? Only our submission to God alone, our righteous work will benefit us. In 77, homosexuality condemned. Whenever messengers went to Lot, they were mistreated, and he was embarrassed by their presence. He said, "This is a difficult day." His people came rushing. They had grown accustomed to their sinful acts. He said, "O my people, it would be pure for you if you take my daughters instead. You shall reverence God. Do not embarrass me with my guests. Have you not one reasonable man among you?" So this is that God has condemned homosexuality. We'll read further verses. It says, cheating, dishonesty is also condemned. So it doesn't stop here. All bad behavior is condemned. We have to take the whole picture. All bad behavior is condemned, basically. So this is where lots of people were into this kind of behavior. So he gets those two guests. Also, he doesn't know they're human being. Also, to notice that Abraham and Lot were alive at the same time, two different prophets in different communities, and they were aware of each other because Abraham said he knew Lot's people one way or the other. So probably these two angels came as a human being, very possible. That's what drove all those people to rush to Lot's home. If they were just any very ordinary people, then that might not be the reason. But that's just, may God forgive me, just my thought. They must be very decent looking people, those angels. Possible, again. In old times, when some people have guests, it was a big deal when you have a guest in old times. Nowadays, when someone have guest, we feel burdened, but in old times it was something to be honored that I have guest. And he wants to protect them. They don't even know them. It's not that he can just tell them, please leave or something. No, they are his guest. He will protect them at any cost. To the point he's telling those people, take my daughters instead. Probably in a hand of marriage, not he's gonna take them in a negative way. He's protecting his guest to that limit. Think about it. And he still doesn't know that they are angels. And he's reasoning with them. That don't you have even one person? He's in a situation, he's in a dire situation. He's really stressed out. He's protecting his guests. They said, you know well that we have no need for your daughters. You know exactly what we want. He said, I wish I were strong enough or had a powerful ally. The angels said, O Lot, we are your Lord's messengers, and these people cannot touch you. You shall leave with your family during the night, and let not any one of you look back, except your wife. He is condemned along with those who are condemned. Their appointed time is in the morning. Is not the morning soon enough? So this is their response. Even though he's trying to be reasoning with them, you have anybody in your group, reasonable person, please take my daughters instead. And they said, we don't need all this. You know exactly what we want. This is their response. You know exactly what we want. After all this, he said, I wish I had a strong and I was strong and I had a powerful ally. It's not that he doesn't believe in God or trust in God. It is to, at that moment, if you think about it, the reason he said, it appears to be to have a conversation with him, because for him mentioning God will be landing on deaf ears, because these people have already rejected God. They want to do whatever it is. So if Lot to say that my Lord will do this and that, they probably will laugh at him. So it is still to convince in the same tone. Then he said, I wish I had a strong enough, or I was strong enough, or had a powerful ally. He's reasoning with them, coming to terms. Think about it. He's been telling them to worship God alone. He's telling them don't stop doing all these bad acts. This probably will be their last chance to come back, probably. But at the same time, we know Abraham, when angels went to them, God's, if you read the previous part, where Abraham was saying that, right here, your Lord's judgment has been issued. We clearly understand. And Moses implored God about Pharaoh to seal their hearts so they cannot believe. And God said, your prayer has been accepted. Meaning, no more people can believe. When God says to Noah, no more of your people are going to believe, build an ark under watchful eyes, I'm paraphrasing. Which means, whoever has believed, rest of the people cannot believe, to the point when his son was in the middle of those tall hill type waves, so fearful situation, he was barred to believe, to get on that ark. This is God's judgment. This is God's decree. When it comes, that's it for that person or the community. This is why we need to be extremely reverent to God. Put every effort to come to God. So this is where, when he was told that their messengers, okay, after that, Lot is relaxed. He knows this is it. The judgment has begun for these people. And these messengers will take Lot and his immediate family members and those who believe with him, anybody who believe with him, even except his wife. And we had a discussion, not to look back is in a way when you going somewhere and you said whatever the loss you're gonna suffer, say don't look back at your loss, just move forward, that's it, move on. And you even tell them that their appointment time is in the morning. They took them in the night, is morning's not soon enough. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Whenever judgment came, we turned it upside down, and we showered it with hard, devastating rocks. Such rocks were destined by your Lord to strike the transgressors. So this is the system that God is telling us. In old times, people live in small communities, towns, Lot's community. God took the believers out, everything else was wiped off. Nowadays, people live in big giant cities and communities. Destroying the whole community is not appropriate, because there are a lot of people living there, a lot of children living there. Their life has just started. They're going to go through the test. So as we understand nowadays, the judgment comes on individual basis. We get the message. What we do with the message, God shows us sign. If we continuously disobey God, our life will tell us. God says we run them from once and twice, trials, some difficulties once or twice, so that we may come back to God. So God gives us message, proof, gives all kind of things, just like with Pharaoh. It will be unjust to give Pharaoh so many signs and not to anybody else. God's system is the most just. So however that comes, however the message comes, God says there's not a single community where God didn't send the messenger. So we all have a messenger. Quran is a messenger. And what we do with it, and then after some time, a decree comes from God. No more people can believe, and that's where everything stops. And these people were destroyed. And you can just imagine how horrible that situation was when the whole community was wiped out. God willing, I'll read from 84 next time. Praise be to God.